Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice for radio. So today, I'm continuing my series of taking a Pokemon and looking at every Pokemon card they've ever had, and whether they were any good. And asking the question, is this Pokemon good in the Pokemon trading card game? Today, we are looking at Shaymin. Couple really interesting things about Shaymin. There were two different cards that were integral to decks that won the World Championship. There were two Shaymin cards that were never released outside of Japan. And there's some real themes to Shaymin cards. Generally, and we're going to see this as we go through, Shaymin cards rely on healing, extra energy attachment, and revenge, of all things. So the very first Shaymin card ever came out in Japan in July 2008. It was part of a commemorative set for the 11th movie Giratina and the Sky Warrior. It was never released outside of Japan. Now it allowed you to attach a grass energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon. Again, there's that energy acceleration there. But it wasn't particularly great, and it was just one of these standard promotional cards. He got his debut in the Pokemon trading card game proper in the set Platinum, where there were 5 Shaymin cards. Now, to put that in context, we've had 12 in total. Well, 11, one's coming soon. So 5 of them coming in Platinum is a little bit silly. We got this one, which allows you to heal a bit of damage from Shaymin and do a bit of extra damage if the defending Pokemon is affected by a special condition. It was alright, but not particularly great, to be perfectly honest. The better one here was 15, which had growth. For 0 energy, it allowed you to attach a grass energy from your hand to Shaymin. And if you were using the level X's, which we'll talk about in a moment, this was the best one to help you set it up, because you could attach for your turn, then use growth for 0 energy to attach a second card, and off you go. Or if you didn't have an energy, you could attach one using growth. Downside, of course, is that second attack might allow you to discard all the energy. And by allow, I mean force, and having no energy is not good. The final one was Platinum 38 Shaymin. For 0 energy, 10 damage plus 10 more for each energy attached to Shaymin. And for newer players, this is, of course, what the old 0 energy symbol looked like. And then 40 damage for free energy and remove 2 damage counters from each of your Pokemon. All of these are fairly underwhelming, to be honest. The growth one is the best, but all of them are just a little bit, they're just not particularly good. But we did get 2 level X's in Platinum that were both quite good. Level X's were kind of like break evolutions. You kept the attacks of the previous level. Levels were irrelevant. They all had levels printed on them back then, but they were all very much irrelevant. But that's why you got the level X, because they were all of a certain level. It was a fun thing, but it didn't really mean anything. You could only level X if that Pokemon was in the active, and you kept all of your previous attacks and abilities, but you might gain some extra ones. The first one was the Land Form Shaymin. Best thing about this was that each of your grass Pokemon got 40 more HP, although this did not stack. I talked about this recently in the Turtwig GL video I made, telling you how useful and cool this could be. It's a fun little card. It was never amazing, it never saw a huge amount of play, but it did see a little bit of play, largely for the Pokebody. And of course, Seed Flare allowed you to attach extra grass energy, and as we've said, Shaymin is a Pokemon that attaches extra energy. The better level X was the Revenge Seed or Sky Form Shaymin. If any of your grass Pokemon were knocked out by damage from an attack during your opponent's last turn, you do 60 more damage, which means Energy Flare does 110, and this was back in the SP era where things like Garchomp C level X and your Machamp and Gyarados and all of those sorts were really running around. So 110 was good, and it was for 2 energy, and you could move all of your energy cards around, which is another thing that multiple Shaymin in the past have done. So Platinum gave us 5 Shaymin, the best of which really was this Sky Form Level X. But then it got really good, ladies and gentlemen, with the Heart Gold Soul Silver Unleashed set, where we got our first of 2 utterly ridiculous Shaymin. Here it was all about the ability Celebration Wind, and essentially it just allowed you to rearrange all your energy cards on the field. And it was utterly amazing. It was a ridiculously good card that saw a huge amount of play. People would use it to move energy onto Terrakion to counter Darkrai. People would use it to move energy onto Mewtwo so they could sweep using X-Ball. People would use it to move energy from Pachirisu onto a Zekrom. It was just... it was amazing. It got played in pretty much every single deck at the time. It was played in the Masters Winners deck in 2012. That was actually Igor Costa's winning deck, on which I did a video just the other day. I'll pop a link in the description. I like you guys. It was played in a Juniors final deck, and it's just crazy. It was played in pretty much all of the good decks back then. It was just an absolutely amazing card. It was one of the best cards in the format. And then we get forward to February 2012, where we get the first of 3 Shaymin EXs. Yeah, that's another thing that's interesting about Shaymin. We got 3 EXs. And this one was pretty good. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't absolutely stunning, but it saw a fair amount of play. It was basically a late game sweeper. It was another one of these revenge Pokemon. So the first attack allows you to attach extra energy. Stop me if you've heard that before. But it was actually used in Virizion Genesect. So if you do just not have much at the beginning of the game, you could use Shaymin to attach an extra energy to Virizion to get going the following turn, which was pretty cool. Although 110 HP giving up 2 prizes, you didn't want to do it too much. The best thing about this was Revenge Blast, 30 damage plus 30 more for each prize card your opponent has taken. When your opponent's taken 5 prizes, you're hitting 180 for 2 energy, and back then, with cards like Shaymin and Darkrai, really, 180 was all you really needed to hit. So, it was pretty fantastic. It was reprinted later in Legendary Treasures in November 2013. Like I said, it wasn't some amazing card that saw play in every deck, but it got a little bit of love. Then in November 2012, we got our next non-EX Shaymin. This was in Boundaries Crossed, and it was... like a lot of the non-special Shaymin, the EXs and the level Xs were good, and the rest of them were a bit rubbish. It had Call for Family, which was pretty cool. It could heal with Leaf Drain, but honestly, ladies and gentlemen, it was just a fairly underwhelming card. And then we got our second Shaymin, which we never ever got. This was released in July 2013, and it never got a release outside of Japan. Now, it's not a particularly great card. It was given out in the Mewtwo vs Genesect deck kit, but it was, again, you could attach an energy from your discard with Energy Assist. So it wasn't terrible as a setup Pokemon. But, yeah, just a bit underwhelming. But then again, it's a movie promo, so it's not like it needed to be like the best card ever. We then move forward into Shaymin EX from Roaring Skies in May 2015. And this was the second, oh my god, it's amazing Shaymin. We've all been using this card for a long time. This video, as long as no big news breaks, will be going up on the 31st of August, which I suppose is quite fitting, because it is the very last day that this Shaymin is legal for standard tournament play. It is, there's very little you can say about it other than, oh my god, it's amazing. It's got setup, allows you to draw until you've got 6 cards in your hand. In later, the last couple of months, it's been overshadowed by Tapu Lele, but it really has been a staple in basically every deck since it was released. Now, sometimes you'll get a deck like Greninja, which doesn't need it because it uses water duplicates, but honestly, ladies and gentlemen, the vast majority of decks that have been played over the last couple of years have had Shaymin in, and you shouldn't be surprised to hear that in 2015 it was in 3 of the World Championship printed decks. including the Masters winner Jacob Van Wagner with his Blastoise Caldeo. It wasn't played in Primal Groudon, because that was a slower deck that didn't need it. And in 2016, it was played in 3 of the printed World Championship decks, including Shintaro Ito's Mega Ordino deck. Again, it wasn't printed in the 4th, because it was Greninja. But any card that gets printed in 3 of the 4 World Championship decks 2 years running, oh my goodness, yes. And honestly, it'd be printed in all of them this year, if it wasn't for the fact that Tapu Lele came out and really did overshadow it. Now, there was a promo Shaymin EX as well, just to finish off all the Shaymin EXs. It came out in the Generations Trainer Kit, Elite Trainer Box, and it allowed you to heal 20 damage from each of your bench basic Pokemon per turn. Again, it had really, really terribly low HP, but it was a fun little card. It did see some play in a few decks here and there. And the last Shaymin we actually got revealed was a promo card, which was released twice, in fact. It was in the Mythical Pokemon Collection Shaymin, this was a full art version, in July 2016, and it was reprinted as part of the Magina Mythical Collection in January 2017. It's fine. It's not particularly great. There's nothing particularly amazing about it. But again, it heals. It's kind of what Shaymin does. It's kind of like Shaymin's move. Although it hasn't been released yet, we are getting a Shaymin in Shining Legends being released in October, and it's actually really quite good. I love that you can shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 6 cards. And again, we've got a revenge attack. If a Pokemon was KO'd by damage the previous turn, 120 for 2 energy, which is kind of funky and will get a one-hit KO on anything that's weak. So, yeah. Shaymin likes revenge attacking. Shaymin likes accelerating and sometimes rearranging energy. Shaymin likes healing. And we've had 2 amazing Shaymin that really were kind of at the centre of World's winning decks. And we've had a set that had 5 Shaymins in, which in itself is really quite weird. Not as weird as Arceus, but at least Arceus had the set named after him, and to be fair, that's pretty much the only Arceus we've got outside of the odd promo. And, 2 Japanese cards that were never released outside of Japan. Shaymin is an incredibly interesting Pokemon in the history of the trading card game. Maybe even the most interesting Pokemon when you take all of that into account. But ladies and gentlemen, let me know. Throw some Shaymin memories down in the comments. Shaymin has only been around for less than 10 years, but oh my goodness, has Shaymin made its mark. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy and Twitch at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. That's where the live action happens. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus pods, etc., then you can do so at patreon.com/PTCGRadio. And if you want bonus pod number 2, hurry up because it's being deleted on Friday to make way for bonus pod number 4. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to know which Pokemon you want to see in this set in the future. Don't worry, I'm working on the Gardevoir video. I've just got a few more inquiries before I make it official. So, most important thing as always, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.